I honestly was only expecting like 3 or 5 projects. But, not 10. So, I am happy with some of these projects. I didn't expect some of these projects, and there are some projects that I have never even heard of in the DC universe like The Authority. Well, we now know that the Flash movie will reboot the DCEU to the DCU. We also know that Aquaman 2 and Lost Kingdom and Blue Beetle are canon to James Gunn's DCU. I still don't know if Shazam! Fury of the Gods will be canon to the DCU, but we will find out eventually. My guess is that if Shazam! Fury of the Gods does good at the box office, I think it will be part of James Gunn's DCU. But that's just my opinion. We also know that Robert Pattinson's Batman will not be in James Gunn's DCU and it will be the universe called DC Elseworlds. I am glad that Robert Pattinson's Batman is not in James Gunn's DCU because his Batman just won't work in James Gunn's DCU world. So, this is every movie and show that is in James Gunn's DCU that we know of not in release date order. Starting with Aquaman, then the Suicide Squad, then Peacemaker Season 1, then The Flash, then Blue Beetle, then Aquaman 2 and the Lost Kingdom, then Superman Legacy, then Creature Commandos, then Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, then Batman, The Brave and the Bold, then Paradise Lost, then Waller, then Lanterns, then Booster Gold, then Swamp Thing, and The Authority. Now I will explain what I think these movies will lead up to and I will tell you why I think James and Peter picked these characters, movies and shows. And then I will tell you my opinion on these new picks for the DC franchise. So, starting off with the Flash movie. I think this will be canon because it would only make sense. That is because if this is not a full reboot and only a little over half reboot. So, the reason why this would be canon to James Gunn's DCU is that this movie will kick off the start of James Gunn's DCU. And this can still be canon to the rebooted DCU except nobody knows about the Flashpoint that happened in the new rebooted universe. So, the Flash movie is only canon because it's a gift to James Gunn starting a new DC universe and this confirms that there will be a multiverse but nobody in the rebooted DCU knows there even is a multiverse then. So, that is why I think there will be kind of canon in James Gunn DCU and might not be. I mean if the Flash movie makes like $1.3 billion. Then maybe they will make a Flash 2 with new actor as the Flash and make the sequel in the DC Elseworlds then. But, right now, I am considering the Flash movie as canon to James Gunn's DCU. Now on to Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is about a Mexican teenager finds an alien beetle that gives him superpowered armor. I think this movie will be in James Gunn's DCU because why wouldn't it be? Also, Blue Beetle is about recent college grad Jamie Reyes returns home full of aspirations for his future, only to find that home is not quite as he left it. As he searches to find his purpose in the world, fate intervenes when Jaime unexpectedly finds himself in possession of an ancient relic of alien biotechnology, the Scarab. When the Scarab suddenly chooses Jaime to be its symbiotic host, he is bestowed with an incredible suit of armor capable of extraordinary and unpredictable powers, forever changing his destiny as he becomes the superhero Blue Beetle. So, Blue Beetle will be kind of like Spider-Man of James Gunn's and Peter Safran's DCU. So, the next movie in James Gunn's DCU slate is Aquaman 2 and the Lost Kingdom. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is an upcoming American superhero film based on the DC Comics character Aquaman. Produced by DC Studios, the Safran Company, and Atomic Monster Productions, and set for distribution by Warner Bros. Pictures, it is intended to be the sequel to Aquaman in 2018. So, why I think Aquaman 2 will be in James Gunn's DCU because James Gunn announced it himself in his announcing slate video. I do think it is possible that when the reboot happens, Atlantis might look different and Aquaman might not know who Mera is yet too. So, that is why Aquaman 2 and the Lost Kingdom will be in James Gunn's DCU. The next series or movie is called Creature Commandos. So, the Creature Commandos are a fictional DC Comics team of military superhumans originally set in World War II. The original team was introduced in Weird War Tales number 93. Created by J.M. DeMatteis and Pat Broderick. The team was composed of a human team leader, a werewolf, a vampire, a Frankenstein monster, and a Gorgon. The modern team first appeared in their own miniseries Creature Commandos number 18. This version was written by Tim Truman and drawn by Scott Eaton. Mark Singer portrayed team leader General Matthew Shreve in the third season of the Arrowverse series Arrow. An animated series centered on the team is in development at DC Studios for the streaming service HBO Max, as the first installment of the DC Universe. So, I was honestly not expecting this project at all, but I hope it's very good. The next film on James Gunn's DCU slate is Superman Legacy. Superman Legacy is an upcoming superhero film based on the DC Comics superhero of the same name. It is the first film and installment in the DC universe, and the first film of Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. The film is set to be released on July 11, 2025. I am not surprised about this announcement, and I am very happy about this film is good, and I hope it makes over $1 billion. The next movie James Gunn announced for his Chapter 1 slate is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is set to introduce a brand new version of the Girl of Steel on the big screen. And DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn may have hinted at how the DCU Supergirl will be different from other iterations. So, I was honestly shocked that this project got announced, because I am surprised they would decide to go with a Supergirl movie because there is already a Superman movie coming out, but I heard the comic based on this movie is very, very good. So, I hope this movie is good. So, the next movie in James Gunn's DCU slate is The Brave and Bold. So, The Brave and the Bold is a story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them. And the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Also, Batman and Robin. It will be an installment of Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters in the DC Universe. So, I was not surprised about this announced, but I was not happy that Damian Wayne is James Gunn's favorite Robin. But what I am happy about is that this movie is about the Bat family, and that this DCU Batman will be in his late 30s or 40s. This also that Dick Grayson Nightwing, Jason Todd Red Hood, Tim Drake Red Robin, and Damian Wayne Robin will all already exist in this DC universe. Which I think is awesome. So, I hope this movie does very well. So, the next movie or series in James Gunn's DCU slate is Paradise Lost. So, one of the more intriguing projects James Gunn announced for his new DCU is a series called Paradise Lost. A sort of Game of Thrones style series about the political turmoil in the Amazon nation of Themyscira. This show would take place centuries before Wonder Woman and will certainly feature a ton of other Wonder Women. And it seems the series is at least named after a Wonder Woman storyline from 2 decades ago, a story about an Amazon civil war. But before we get into that story, let's get into the comic history of the two ancient tribes of warrior women at the heart of the comic storyline Paradise Lost. So, in the George Perez Wonder Woman 1980s reboot, they explored the history of the Amazons in detail. Perez's top-to-bottom reimagining revealed that the Amazon tribe were all the reincarnations of women whose lives were cut short by the brutality of men. The Greek gods granted these souls new life as Amazon warriors, emerging fully formed in adult bodies from the clay beneath the sea. This occurred roughly 3,000 years ago. The Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman film actually depicts a version of this as in the history lesson Queen Hippolyta gave young Diana. So, I am very happy about this series, and I was shocked it got announced. I hope it does very well. The next movie or show in James Gunn's DCU slate is called Waller. So, as the title suggests, DC comic character Amanda Waller is now confirmed to have her own spin-off series, with award-winning actress Viola Davis reprising her role as the iron-fisted, temperamental civil servant. The series will apparently take place in the same universe as fellow DC spin-off Peacemaker, which saw Davis Waller make a surprise cameo. The events of Waller will fall right in between seasons 1 and 2 of Peacemaker, picking up from where she was exposed by none other than her daughter as the mastermind behind the agendas of both the Suicide Squad and Task Force X. With her secrets and subterfuge now public knowledge, Waller will no doubt have to find a way to pull herself out of the hole she's falling into. Given her ruthless reputation, it's likely that her daughter Leota won't exactly be free of consequences. Also, Viola Davis has previously expressed her enthusiasm about returning to the DC universe, given her love for comics, the fantasy behind them, and especially having the opportunity to play a strong character like Amanda Waller. I am not surprised that this project got announced. Well, I made a video about what I think the movies and shows were going to be in James Gunn's DCU slate, and this was one of them. So, I am very happy that this project was announced, and I hope it does really well. The next movie or show in James Gunn's DCU slate is called Lanterns. So, two people are Hal Jordan, the original human Green Lantern Corps member and the one we follow in the 2011 film as well as Green Lantern, the animated series, and John Stewart, the Green Lantern best known as the roster member seen in both Justice League and its sequel series Justice League Unlimited, the second live-action series in Gunn and Safran's recently announced Gods and Monsters phase. The ambitious new show will see the two Lanterns embark on a detective story that will result in major consequences for the rest of the DCU. A buddy cop-style Green Lantern show has been in on and off development for a very long time and has been shrouded in secrecy for that same time frame. With Gunn and Safran now finally kicking the show's production into gear, it's only a matter of time until we learn more about the anticipated project. Until then, here is everything we know so far about Lanterns. So, I am not surprised that this project got announced. I love that it will be a detective type of series and I hope it does very well. The next movie or show in James Gunn's DCU slate is called Booster Gold. So, Booster Gold would be on the surface, he looks like your average superpowered hero. He's got the handsome looks, the technologically advanced supersuit, and a snarky robotic companion. Overall, pretty standard stuff for a standard superhero, but the twist comes in how Booster got access to these incredible gifts. Booster was actually born in the 25th century, and he decided to escape his mundane life by stealing some advanced tech and using a time machine to go back to the 21st century, where he hoped to use his abilities to amass great fame and fortune through the creation of a new superhero persona. Though his intentions may be dishonorable, Booster Gold still does have a conscience and always sides with good whenever the need arises. This unique combination of a protagonist who is both greedy and noble has launched Booster Gold from a minor B-list character into a beloved fan favorite. Despite the character's massive popularity among DC Comics fans, Booster Gold has proven to be a complicated character to adapt to film and television. Although Booster has made an appearance now and then in shows like Justice League Unlimited and Smallville, he's yet to get a show or movie that's all about him. At one time it seemed that the man behind the CW's Arrowverse, Greg Berlanti, was working on a Booster Gold series in 2011 before it was reworked as a movie in 2016. But it's become clear that the project died quite some time ago. That brings us to today, in a time when new DC Studios co-CEOs James Gunn and Peter Safran are well underway with plans for a brand new DC cinematic universe. And fans will be delighted to hear that Booster Gold is a part of those plans with his very own television series. To find out all the current details for the long-awaited DC adaptation, read below to learn everything we know so far about Booster Gold. So I am not really surprised but, a little. That is because everyone was speculating that James Gunn would do a Booster Gold series and he did. So, I hope this show is good and does very well. The next movie in James Gunn's DCU slate is called Swamp Thing. While a number of A-list characters had films unveiled, like the Superman film Superman Legacy and the Batman film The Brave and the Bold, there were also a number of upcoming screen adaptation announcements featuring many lesser-known characters, Swamp Thing being one of them. This new take on the character was described by Gunn as a very dark horror story that will cover his origin story. So it seems as though the creators behind the film are already on the right track to doing him justice. Swamp Thing has always inhabited and been one of the main faces of the eerier parts of the DC universe, so seeing this corner of the world already being made into a priority is hugely invigorating. This adaptation will be following in the footsteps of decades in comics, TV shows, film adaptations, and video games, but will only benefit from being able to pull from such a rich history. So, I was very shocked when this thing was announced because Swamp Thing is a lesser-known character and I hope this movie is good and does very well. So, the last movie or show in James Gunn's DCU slate is called The Authority. So, as part of their plan to tell a unified story with DCU characters, new co-heads of DC Studios James Gunn and Peter Safran announced that they are currently developing a feature film about The Authority. The Authority was originally part of the Wildstorm comic book universe, a label bought by DC Comics in 1999. Founded in 1992 by comic book legend Jim Lee, the Wildstorm universe was created to introduce new superhero stories outside the restraints of DC and Marvel's canon. After DC Comics bought Lee's universe, they kept printing Wildstorm issues independently of the main DC universe. However, after 2011's New 52 initiative, several Wildstorm characters were incorporated into the DC canon. Similarly, Gunn and Safran will use Wildstorm characters as part of their main DCU, with the Authority existing in the same world as the Justice League. Gunn said, "So this is one of my real passion projects. I've been working really hard on it with the writers. We're starting to put together the entire story. This is a big movie. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Authority Wildstorm characters. Wildstorm was a comics imprint that was bought by DC that I really love. We're moving a lot of these Wildstorm characters into the DCU, so I was most shocked that this project got announced. I am a huge DC fan and I didn't even know who they were until James Gunn announced his DCU slate. So, I think this a risky project for them and I hope this movie is good and does very very well." So, that is James Gunn DCU slate so far, retrospective. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. It is one of my biggest ones and let me know in the comments section below what your thoughts are on all of these. Also, I was shocked that Peacemaker Season 2 was on this slate, but that's a different topic for a different video. So, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And have a great day.